Hi, LynnMarie. Sure. You know, we've never had an accordion player on the Hour of Power before. And I want you to know that the accordion is really having a revival right now. I think so.
Thank you.
Is it weird if I ask you to play something? I mean, you're holding it.
No, this is kind of like full circle for me. You know, I think
Yeah.
this is my first church service, so as long as you don't mind me playing a little bit of a polka, then
We don't
we're
mind.
good.
We don't mind at all. Yes. Yes. The first thing that came to my head was, what would you do with a drunken sailor? What would you do with a drunken sailor?
Well, I was going to sing In Heaven There Is No Beer, but I wasn't sure that would go over very well, but yeah.
So, all right, this is church. We have to talk about
Yes,
Jesus.
okay, yes. Let's talk about Jesus. That's right. Let's
All
be
right.
serious. Let's talk about Jesus.
So, speaking of Jesus, you
Yes.
came to faith in college, yes?
Yeah, I did.
Tell me about that. You met your husband?
I did. You know, life is a journey, and when I was a senior in high school, my mom passed away suddenly of cancer, quickly. And so
Wow.
I began a search for faith, and I realized in college that God wanted to have more of a relationship with me than I had previously developed in the Catholic Church. And it was really that simple. I thought, you know, he's there for me daily, and it's a personal relationship. But how many people know you can have a personal relationship, and that doesn't mean that you fix or heal your wounds from your childhood, and it doesn't necessarily mean everything's going to be great from that point on.
Sure.
So as an artist and a performer, I learned to live life from the outside in and not from the inside out.
And why do you say as an artist?
I think we are all artists. We all put on a mask and perform when we want to, and we kind of can live there, and we don't get real. And I think that God provides opportunities in life for us to either get real or we keep running. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened to me when my son was born. I tell people that Down syndrome for me was the catalyst to stop. God used it to say, stop, slow down, and let's find your soul and your heart. You know, when you're raised in a dysfunctional home, even a happy one, when there's alcohol in a home, everything is about taking care of the alcoholic. So as a child, you lose your ability to have and develop a sense of self, of real self. You're not allowed to have an opinion or a want or a need. It's all about keeping things working for the alcoholic. So I didn't really know myself.
Interesting.
At all. So when I was 40 and got the news that the baby I was carrying was going to be born with Down syndrome, my world quit spinning, and I couldn't catch my breath, and I did not want to be the parent of a special needs child. When 9 months went by, and I contemplated suicide all the time. Oh. And then the nurse laid that baby in my arms, and I felt nothing. That's very hard to admit, but I didn't. And I lived that way for several more years, pretending. And then one day, God said, stop. And I was in my closet. I decided to get off the road and quit performing. And I was putting away performance clothes, and I looked out my window. It overlooks our driveway. And I had a vision of James and I standing at the end of that drive, a couple years down the road, kindergarten time, waiting for the school bus. And when I looked up, what I saw coming down the street to get him was not the regular school bus, but it was a short bus. And I hit my knees and I yelled at God, as prayer-like as possible, God, I just can't wrap my head around the fact that I have a special needs child. And what I heard back from the deepest part of my gut was, I'm not asking you to wrap your head around it. I'm asking you to wrap your heart around it. And I hit my knees and I thought, okay, I get it. I can't fix him, nor am I supposed to. And I thought, well, that's really poetic, God, but I don't know how to love him. Yeah. I get it. I get what I'm supposed to do and what I'm supposed to feel, but I don't feel those things, so what do I do? So that's when God broke my dryer.
Your dryer?
Yeah. Yeah, you know he'll
Last straw.
Yeah, he'll do anything to get your attention, right? So I still was running. I was doing all the right things. I was in therapy, and I was going to church, and I was praying, but inside I was still running. Yeah. And so my dryer breaks one day. It like blows up, like there are sparks and everything. And so I have this saying.
Just what you needed.
Right. So I have this saying, it's I over E when it involves C. Intellect over emotion when it involves a crisis. Because you'll always make better decisions if you think I over E. Mm-hmm. So I thought, oh, if my dryer's broke, that means I get to get a new dryer. Oh, and a washer, because the washer's about to go, right?
Yeah, you might as well.
And I don't know about out here in California, but in Nashville, we have these television commercials with Kelly Ripa, the talk show host. Mm-hmm. She promotes these things called the Electrolux Deluxe, right? And, they're perfect appliances. So when you buy them, your life becomes perfect. You all of a sudden have the perfect biceps, and you throw the cookies to the perfect-looking kids. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get an Electrolux dryer, and my life is going to be perfect.
And you ended up at Sears?
I did. So I go to Sears, and it turns out they're having a promotional sale that day. Awesome. So I pull in, there's a band in the parking lot, and I thought, oh gosh, I've never had to play a Sears parking lot. I played a lot of bad polka gigs. Never a Sears parking lot. I said, James, we're going to come support them when we're done. Oh, so I go in, I find the Electrolux Deluxe, I find the sales lady, and then she tells me the price. And I'm like, I'm going to need the I don't do anything but dry clothes dryer, because that is all I can afford at the moment. So she takes me over to these Maytag, 2 buttons, on and off. And this whole time...
That's what I would have...
Yeah, no perfect life happening. And this whole time, this elderly woman is following me around. I can tell she's staring at me. And she comes up to me and she says, is this your little boy? And I said, yeah. And she said, I just buried my little boy. He was 61 years old, and he had Down syndrome. And she said, they told me to put him away. And I did, and I took care of him my whole life. She said, can I tell you something? And I said, yeah. She said, I know how hard it is. But I promise you, if you cannot live in the future and let go of your fear and live in this moment right now, you're going to feel more love than you ever imagined. So I started crying. She's crying. I look over, the sales lady's crying. Like, okay, this is now the softer side of Sears, right here. So back in the parking lot, we stopped to listen to the band. They finish, I hear it through the grapevine. The keyboard player comes running straight at me. She goes, is this your little boy? And I go, yeah. And she goes, I have a brother with Down syndrome. He's the love of my life. And I was still upset. And she said, oh, I know how hard it is. I watch my mom all the time. You are going to be just fine. Don't you worry about tomorrow. Don't live in the fear. Let go of the future. Live in this moment. You're going to feel more love than you ever imagined. And she runs back to the stage. And I was like, did she just say the exact same thing that woman said? All of a sudden, there was a tap on my shoulder. I was like, God, this better be Kelly Ripa. Standing behind me with an Electrolux is a third woman. And she said, I'd like to introduce you to our little boy. So she takes me to her car. She opens up her back door, and there lying on pillows in the back seat is what appears to be about a 12-year-old. And he was fragile and curled up. And she said he has a chromosome disorder. He can hardly hear and he can't speak, but he knows you're here. And she grabs my hand and she puts it on his cheek. She said, this is our son, Brian. And she said, Brian, this is a very special mommy who has a beautiful little boy. And she takes my hand in hers and she says, they told me to put him away. And I took care of him his whole life. He's 52 years old. She said, if I could tell young mothers like yourself one thing, it would be this. Don't live in the future. Mm-hmm. Let go of your fear. Live in this moment right now. You're going to feel more love than you ever imagined.
And that happened for you.
And I put James in his car seat, and I went to back out of the spot, and I turned and I looked at him. It was the first time in his 4.5 years on this planet. I said, I love you. And I looked in the rearview mirror to wipe my tears, and for the first time, oh, there he is. There he is.
That's awesome. That's great. Was that a Sports Illustrated
Yeah, that was it, right there. Yeah, that was
great.
it. You know, for me, it took becoming, knowing myself and loving myself in order to be able to love him and to really start to listen to God through my own voice. It's been quite a journey. I learned that there were actually 2 people in that car that day with special needs. You know, we all just have them differently, and none of us are perfect, but with God's help, we get through it.
Well, LynnMarie, this is an incredible testimony for especially so many parents who have children with special needs. We have a son, you know, with special needs as well.
Oh.
And I know many people are, you know, struggling with these different challenges in life. And really, that's the important thing about loving people that need a little extra. Is because when you love people, you worry. But to not worry about the future, but to just be present. There's so much wisdom in that.
In the day, and I think, you know, we all get something, whether it's special needs or not. Cancer, financial hardship, divorce, you know, whatever you may be struggling with. And I know for me, I learned that acceptance was the first key. When you keep running from it and don't want it to be there and act like it's not there, you don't move forward. And once you do, once you say, okay, God, this is what you gave me, I can do this, then the world opens up and he reaches down and says, I'll take you on this journey. We'll do it together.
Oh, thank you. Well, LynnMarie, we're so grateful for you. Thank you for being
so
here
much.
with us. What a privilege.